Hey everyone, welcome. We're back with Fridays with Freddie. Freddie, great to have you on. As promised, I want to talk to you today about blockchain because it was a big buzz a couple years ago, and then AI took it over, but it's not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, it's your thesis that AI and blockchain work wonderfully well together and are going to find lots of ways to partner together in the future. So, with that in mind, demystify blockchain for us first. And I'm almost going to treat you like ChatGPT. And here's my prompt: give me an explanation on blockchain, kind of for fifth to eighth grader level.
Yeah, I'll do that. Good morning. I'll do that and then add the caveat that it's very important for these technologies, including with AI, to understand that it's not just what they do, it's what the impact, the potential impact of how we do things is important, right? So what is a blockchain? Blockchain, somebody used to work for me said, Fred, I don't think it's a big deal because it's just another database. So it's true. It is another database. But the official term is it's a decentralized, immutable, distributed ledger, right? So it's decentralized, it's distributed, it's a ledger, so it's a type of a database, and it's immutable. Immutable meaning you can't change anything, right? So that's one of the defining characteristics. When you write to a blockchain, you can't update that value. You can add to it, right? So that's number one. Now, why do I think this is really important and why it's interesting? Think of blockchain as a database, but think of the world that we live in today. It's a world where the ledger is the foundational element of economic activity, of legal agreements, and record keeping, right? So almost everything we do in society, there is a ledger associated with it. Your bank is a ledger.
So like my bank account is a ledger.
Right.
I get it.
Your bank is a ledger. The registrar office, where they keep the academic records, that's a ledger.
It's a ledger.
So almost everything we do, there's some type of ledger involved. And we build a society where there's all these intermediaries. There's lawyers, there's notaries, there's registrars, there's experts in X, experts in B.
There's trust companies that manage my home purchase sale, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the trust layer, right? So you have the ledger. So there's a whole trust layer of intermediaries that are regulated, that have policies and procedures, et cetera, right? Audits, et cetera. So if you realize that that's what society is, if you now have a technology that comes in and could potentially replace those intermediaries, if you buy a house, for example, potentially you could replace that entire, or at least a lot of it, 80% of it, with a blockchain, right? Where the code itself, the cryptography itself, becomes the arbiter of transactions.
So this is why, and I think it was you who pointed this out in our Slack channel, or someone found the article that said that the entire state of California, their DMV, has moved all their title transfers to blockchain. They were touting the fact that now I can transfer my title in California with somebody else with no human interaction needed, because the blockchain, and now I'm understanding what you're saying is, the blockchain becomes the trust layer. I don't have to go stand in line, fill out a form, have some lady verified and say, this is a legitimate title, so now I will transfer it to Fred. Fred, you can accept this as a legitimate title because a human signed off and said, yes, this is, right? Now in California, blockchain is handling that.
Correct. So, but think of blockchain as an infrastructure component, right? So blockchain is going to enable a lot of different use cases. For example, tokenization of knowledge. I'll talk about that a little bit later with what's called smart contracts, right? Smart contracts are actually, they're neither smart nor a contract, but they're basically pieces of code that with certain variables and certain toll gates that get executed. Like, for example, as soon as you put the money in escrow and I delivered the goods, and you agreed, I delivered the goods, the escrow automatically releases the funds. That would be a blockchain, right? So if you start looking at that from a higher education perspective, now you could start thinking about verifiable credentials, right? Which is the most common use case. Right. Okay. I have a blockchain-based diploma or a transcript. I can share it. At will. So again, it's only technology, but the mind shift and the paradigm shift for a registrar whose very job it is to secure and be in charge of that data, to make the decision as an organization that, okay, I'm now going to hand over the ownership of these transcripts to the student itself. That's a paradigm shift, right? It seems subtle, but it's very big. And I think what we're going to see with blockchain is we're going to see many more of these use cases starting to pop up in the background.
So you've given the use case of transcripts and digital credentials, badges, all that kind of diplomas. But then you've also shared this use case with me in the past in the HR department, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the contracts, all the faculty contracts, all the adjunct faculty, hundreds of adjunct faculty, and humans have to right now sit there and send out the contract to verify that it came back, is the signature there, fully replaceable in a blockchain environment, right? And save all those man hours and put those people to more meaningful work and ensure the work actually gets done because you automated reminders, all that kind of stuff.
And again, there's going to be developers listening to this who are going to say, yeah, but I can do that with regular code. No, you're absolutely right. But what you can't do is guarantee that all the steps have been followed and can be audited. And again, you create a whole little trust layer because those smart contracts, which is basically just code, but the smart contracts use the same functionality that makes the blockchain immutable, meaning unchangeable, right? So you can trust that.
So if I did change it, you would know, or it would essentially make it void.
You wouldn't be allowed to, and that's the power of blockchain, right? So not to get too technical, you said like grade 7 or 8, right? But blockchain is basically, it's exactly that. It's like data gets put into a block of information. That information gets hashed, and for those that don't know what hashing is, it's basically a cryptographic function where you take a bunch of data. You can take a book and create a hash out of it. It'll be X amount of characters. If you change one period on page number 233, it would break the hash. The hash would no longer be correct, right? So what a blockchain,
which would then say it's been tampered with, just like a transcript being tampered with or a faculty contract being tampered with would instantly say no longer valid, no longer verifiable. The trust isn't there.
Right, and the way it does that, because for a blockchain has what's called a consensus mechanism. So meaning every transaction needs to be validated by the chain to say, yes, this is a valid transaction. You need 51% of the nodes to agree that that transaction is valid. So you have that block of information, which is hashed. Then the next block takes as part of its information, not just the information you're putting in the block, but the hash of the previous block. So therefore, in a regular database, it's potentially, and I had this at an employer where I used to work, a university. There was a hack, and they were able to get into a section of a database.
Right.
That does not exist in blockchain. It's you either in or you're out. Right. So for a blockchain, it's like, no, it's either a valid transaction or it's not an invalid, basically. So it's a little bit complicated. I mean, I'm one of the few people that actually have a degree in blockchain.
A master's degree, to say the least. You did a thesis on it and everything.
Yes. Yeah. But just think of it as what the impact is going to be. And this is just another technology that industry can start to use, including higher education. And if you like, I can give you two more use cases, right?
Quick, yeah.
There's a organization in Germany, the Max Planck Institute, very, very, very famous science institute. They have something called the Bloxburg blockchain, the research blockchain. Because one of the problems you have as a researcher is at what moment are you going to collaborate with other researchers and make your data available for other researchers without the fear that somebody's going to look at, hey, that's a great idea, I'm going to use that idea, right? So there's IP involved, there's research integrity and transparency involved. So the Bloxburg blockchain is a association of I think there are almost 30 universities now around the world. Georgia Tech is part of it. Carnegie Mellon is part of that. So that data, so you can start to collaborate with other institutions. You can start sharing your data much sooner because it's blockchain protected. So meaning the provenance of who created that data and who has the IP will always be maintained, right? So that's another example. A very radical example is Amin Rafi out of Australia created an organization called Bitopia University, where he says, I'm going to tokenize knowledge. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to create a university, Bitopia University, that is a decentralized autonomous organization. So meaning all the administrative stuff that is enabling the core relationship of what is a higher education, which is relationship between the knowledge transfer between the teacher, the mentor, professor, to the student, right?
Yeah.
So the way he figured out, he says, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to charge certain tuition. Those tuitions are going to be tokens. Those tokens are going to be put in a treasury. Smart contracts are going to dictate then, okay, X amount goes to the university, X amount goes to the instructor. But then, depending on the grade of the student gets a refund, which is very innovative, right?
So it's competency-based refunds.
Right. Refunds. So it's like, depends on your grade and how well you do, we're going to give you a refund on some of the tokens tuition that you paid. Yep. So it's very innovative. So again, you know,
so it's incentivizing me to learn with financial incentives.
Right. But again, it's something that we say at Beyond real quick. Experiment with these technologies.
Well, I think that in summary, I would say the reason I wanted you to bring this up and the reason we're having this conversation is so that schools don't put their blinders on and say, oh, we'll never do blockchain. Oh, AI is bad. It's just dumb to say that. And if your CIO is saying that, you need to start searching for another CIO. You need leaders who are willing to, like you just said, experiment, think, study, look outside the box, maybe not deploy the technology next week, but at least keep an open mind to the use cases, because AI and blockchain are inevitable now. And again, like we've been saying, start building it into your strategy, start asking the what if scenarios, do the imagine if ideation now, pick our brain if you need to, but it's coming, it's here. And so sticking your head in the sand is just plain dumb.
No, exactly. And the same discussion we had with AI, educate yourself on what it is, so that at least you have an understanding that when a vendor comes in or your president asks you one day, hey, how come we're not doing blockchain verifiable credentials? We're having all of these security breaches. By the way, you got to feel for the CISOs and the cybersecurity people at any organization, right? It's World War III every day. AI is going to play a very important role in that. Well, blockchain is going to play a very important role in that.
Learn, Fred, so much more for us to explore, but hopefully we're encouraging people to just open their mind, consider the possibilities, start dreaming. It's here, and just don't close your mind off to what's possible, and we'll keep the conversation going.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Make it a great day.